Imagine you're standing in the middle of a torrential downpour, right? Just miles from any shelter.
Oh, yeah. And the natural reaction for, well, for most of us is to just tense our shoulders up and sort of mentally fight the weather.
Exactly. We exhaust ourselves being angry at the water, which is, I mean, it's completely irrational when you think about it.
Right, because we're throwing all this limited biological energy into a battle against an opponent that doesn't even know we exist.
Yeah.
The storm just, it doesn't care that you're getting wet.
But what if you could deploy this, like, perfectly tailored invisible raincoat?
I like that. An invisible raincoat.
Right. It doesn't stop the storm. The wind is still howling. The lightning is flashing. The ground is turning to mud, but the water just beads off you.
You stay warm. You stay functional.
Exactly. That invisible raincoat is psychological resilience.
Hmm.
And about 2,000 years ago, a former slave named Epictetus and a Roman emperor named Marcus Aurelius figured out exactly how to weave it.
They really did.
So today, for this deep dive, we're taking their ancient blueprints and we're combining them with modern psychology and the ancient Indian philosophy of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. We're extracting the exact steps to build your own raincoat.
And, to understand the sheer utility of these blueprints, you kind of have to look at how this philosophy, Stoicism, how it was actually born.
Yeah, it wasn't just guys in togas sitting in a quiet library, right?
Not at all. Zeno of Citium, he didn't develop this in some closed-off academic tower. Around 300 BCE, he took his ideas out into the bustling, noisy public streets of Athens.
Right into the chaos.
Exactly. He taught at the Stoic, the painted porch right in the middle of the marketplace. This was public philosophy. It was designed to be battle-tested by merchants, soldiers, and politicians dealing with everyday life.
Which really explains how it could be adopted by people on entirely opposite ends of the human experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you have Epictetus, who lived for years as a slave, enduring brutal physical conditions. And then you have Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the entire Roman Empire and commanded armies.
Two completely different worlds.
Right. But they both utilize the exact same mental toolkit because the fundamental mechanism of human suffering, that feeling of being crushed by circumstances outside your control, is just completely universal.
It really is. So to build this resilience, we have to establish the foundational architecture first. Epictetus called this the dichotomy of control.
The dichotomy of control. Okay, break that down for us.
Well, it requires you to ruthlessly separate the entire universe into two categories. Just two. What is within your power and what is outside of it.
So if I'm looking at my daily life, the problem isn't that my train is delayed or my boss is being unreasonable.
Right.
The problem is that I'm wasting energy, like literally spiking my own cortisol, trying to mentally change a reality that is fundamentally outside my jurisdiction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are trying to command the weather. And the list of things outside your jurisdiction is massive.
I can imagine.
It's your physical health, your wealth, the past, the future, other people's opinions of you, the broader economy.
So pretty much everything we worry about constantly.
Basically, yeah. What is in your control is strictly internal. It's your thoughts, your conscious beliefs, your values, and your deliberate actions in the present moment. That's it.
This sounds incredibly similar to the bedrock of modern cognitive behavioral therapy.
Oh, it's a direct parallel.
Because if you sit in a therapist's office today, they aren't going to try to change the fact that you failed an exam or, went through a breakup.
They can't change the past.
Right. They target the internal belief you attached to that external event, the story you tell yourself about what that failure means.
The clinical applications of CBT are direct descendants of Zeno and Epictetus. And what's fascinating here is how this also mirrors the core teachings of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras.
Wait, really? The Yoga Sutras talk about this too.
They do. Ancient Indian philosophy draws this hard line between the ever-changing material world and the pure witnessing consciousness.
The witnessing consciousness.
Yeah. Suffering in the yogic tradition arises when that internal witnessing self mistakenly identifies with the external uncontrollable fluctuations of the material world.
Ah, I see.
So both traditions demand you pull your identity back into the internal space you actually control.
Cicero, the Roman orator, he used an incredibly vivid mechanical metaphor for this in our sources that I love.
The archer, right?
Yes, the archer. He described an archer lining up a shot. And if you think about all the variables the archer controls, the tension of the bow, the steadiness of their breath, their stance.
And, the years of repetitive training they put in beforehand.
Exactly. All of that is their internal domain.
Mhm.
But the exact microsecond that arrow leaves the bowstring, they lose all jurisdiction.
Completely.
A sudden gust of wind, a flaw in the arrow's fletching, or, I mean, the target simply taking a step to the left could just ruin the shot.
Right. And if that archer ties their psychological stability to the external outcome actually hitting the bullseye, they will live in a constant state of anxiety.
Forever at the mercy of the wind.
Precisely. But if they tie their self-worth to having aimed perfectly and executed their training to the highest standard of the internal outcome, they remain emotionally bulletproof, regardless of where the arrow ultimately lands.
Okay, separating internal from external makes perfect sense on paper. I control the bow, not the wind.
Sure.
But let's be realistic here. If I actually miss the target and, I don't know, I lose my job tomorrow, my brain doesn't care about Epictetus's logic.
No, it doesn't.
My amygdala is screaming. My stress response is fully activated. How does this philosophy actually intercept that physiological panic response?
Well, you intercept the shock by experiencing it before it happens.
What do you mean?
The Stoics utilized a technique called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Basically, it's the practice of negative visualization.
Negative visualization.
Yeah. You deliberately carve out time in a calm state to vividly imagine the things you fear actually coming to pass.
Wait. So I'm supposed to sit down with my morning coffee and vividly imagine getting fired, my car breaking down, or like losing my partner?
Yes.
That sounds like a fast track to a panic attack, especially for anyone who already struggles with anxiety. Why would I do that?
I know, it seems completely backward, especially in a modern culture that constantly tells us to manifest positive outcomes and, avoid negative thoughts at all costs.
Right. Good vibes only.
Exactly. But the psychological mechanics behind this are identical to modern exposure therapy.
Okay. How so?
When you fear an outcome, your brain builds this terrifying, abstract monster in the dark. By forcing yourself to look directly at the scenario in a controlled environment, you force your brain to map the actual terrain of the disaster.
Oh, I see.
You realize it is just a sequence of events you would have to navigate, not an absolute end to your existence.
It's like reviewing emergency protocols. You practice the evacuation route when there is no fire.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Your brain runs the simulation, encounters the hypothetical cortisol spike, but then realizes you are currently safe in your living room.
Right. So when you actually smell smoke in real life, your brain has a pre-existing script to follow instead of just defaulting to blind panic.
Wow. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
The historical evidence for this in our sources is staggering too. Seneca wrote a deeply moving letter to his own mother, Helvia.
Because he was exiled, right?
Yes, she was devastated because he had been exiled to the island of Corsica, and he doesn't offer her false hope that he will return.
That would be the easy way out.
Right. Instead, he uses Stoic logic to dismantle her terror. He forces her to look directly at the concepts of exile, poverty, and disgrace.
He makes her face the monster in the dark.
Exactly. He strips away the societal dread attached to these words and shows her that a human being can still possess their character, their mind, and their virtue, even while living on a rocky island. He disarms the fear by examining its mechanics.
Epictetus had a much more mundane, everyday application for this negative visualization that I think is brilliant.
Oh, the cup.
Yeah, the cup. He called it detachment through generalization. He said, if you have a favorite ceramic cup that you love drinking tea out of, you need to actively remind yourself. It is just a piece of ceramic.
And what is the fundamental nature of ceramic? It's brittle.
It breaks. If you mentally rehearse the idea that this object is fragile and temporary, then the day it inevitably slips from your hand and shatters on the kitchen floor, you don't experience this huge rush of anger.
You just sweep it up.
Exactly. You had already factored its destruction into your worldview.
And you must scale that up, from a ceramic cup to your career, to your physical health, and ultimately to the people you love.
That's heavy.
It is. But the academic papers comparing this to yoga highlight a shared focus on impermanence. Clinging to the illusion that anything in the material world is permanent is the root of human misery.
Because everything changes.
Right. Negative visualization dissolves that illusion. And it creates a fascinating biological byproduct, too. When you vividly imagine losing your health or your home, the immediate aftermath is an intense spike of gratitude.
Oh, I bet.
The mundane present suddenly feels like a profound luxury because you're hyper-aware of how fragile it is.
But, I mean, I can't just run fire drills in my head once a month and expect my emotional baseline to stay perfectly level. I'm going to leak energy.
Sure, we all do.
I'm going to get annoyed in traffic or, snap at a colleague. How do we catch those leaks before the whole raincoat falls apart?
You institute a daily evening reflection.
Okay, applying the daily audit.
Yes. Seneca advised his students, let us balance life's books each day. Before you go to sleep, you take a quiet moment and ask yourself 3 specific questions. What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? And what can I improve tomorrow?
It sounds like reviewing game tape after a football match.
Exactly like that.
I'm not watching the tape to sit in the locker room and feel guilty about missing a tackle. I'm watching it so I know exactly how to adjust my footwork for the next game.
Right, it's about practical improvement.
But how do you actually do that in your own head without the inner critic just completely taking over? Because if I audit my flaws every night, it's very easy to spiral into, I ate terrible food, I skipped the gym, I lost my temper, I'm just a failure.
That's a trap, right? And this is where we bring in the concept of vairagya from the Yoga Sutras.
Vairagya.
Yeah. It translates roughly to taking a step back and becoming a dispassionate observer of your own mind. It's the ability to step out of the rushing river of your thoughts and sit on the riverbank just watching the water flow by.
So you aren't the thoughts, you're the observer.
Precisely.
Mm.
In Stoicism, the equivalent practice is called prosoche, which is a continuous, vigilant mindfulness. When you do your evening audit, you must step into the role of an objective scientist looking at data, not a judge handing down a sentence.
So you literally change the syntax of your own thoughts. Instead of the thought being, I am an angry person, the thought becomes, I am observing that anger arose in my system at 2 p.m. today.
Yes. And then you apply the dichotomy of control to that observation.
Sure.
Why did anger arise? Because I tried to control an external event. I got furious at the traffic jam.
Which I can't control.
Exactly. There is no guilt required in that observation. Guilt is actually a deeply egotistical emotion.
Really?
Egotistical.
Yeah, because it keeps you focused on beating yourself up rather than actually solving the problem. The objective observation allows you to patch the leak in your raincoat without emotionally flagellating yourself. You stop sleepwalking through your own automated reactions.
Okay, so we've audited the mind, we've rehearsed the worst-case scenarios, but thinking about losing things is one thing. Actually experiencing deprivation is a completely different biological shock.
It is.
Our sources point out that to become truly resilient, you have to fundamentally change your relationship with adversity by moving it from the realm of the mind into the realm of the body.
And this brings us to the practice of voluntary discomfort. Voluntary discomfort.
Yes. If we spend our entire lives terrified of losing our comforts, our warm beds, our gourmet food, our climate-controlled environments, we inadvertently become hostages to those comforts.
They own us.
Right. The Stoic solution to this vulnerability is to occasionally and deliberately throw them away.
So we are talking about taking freezing cold showers, fasting for a day, or, I don't know, choosing to sleep on the hard floor instead of your mattress.
Exactly. And the underlying neurobiology here is really fascinating. We all live on what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill.
The hedonic treadmill.
Yeah. When you get a new luxury, a softer mattress, a better car, a faster phone, your dopamine baseline adjusts to it incredibly quickly.
Oh, for sure. Within a week, the new phone is just a phone.
Right. What used to be a thrill becomes the new normal, and anything less than that normal feels like deprivation. By voluntarily subjecting yourself to a cold shower or an empty stomach, you forcefully reset your dopamine baseline.
This completely inverts how we are taught to live today. Every advertisement we see tells us comfort equals success, that you need to insulate yourself with more money, more convenience, and more upgrades to be happy.
And Stoicism is telling us the exact opposite. It argues that endless comfort is a trap that makes you incredibly fragile.
Because if you know from direct, visceral, physical experience that you can survive and even maintain your internal tranquility while sleeping on the floor or taking a freezing shower,
then the threat of losing your luxury mattress or your hot water suddenly loses its psychological grip on you.
You realize that your capacity for contentment is not tied to your external environment.
And if you realize you can survive a day without food or a night on a hard floor, the threat of poverty or losing your status loses its teeth. You build an absolute immunity to the fear of lack.
That is powerful.
Which leads us directly to the absolute pinnacle of this philosophical training.
Okay, what's the pinnacle?
If you master the dichotomy of control, if you rewire your amygdala through negative visualization, if you objectively audit your days, and if you reset your baseline with voluntary discomfort, you eventually arrive at a cognitive state called amor fati.
Amor fati, the love of fate.
The love of fate.
So not just tolerating fate, not just, grinding your teeth and bearing the pain. but actually loving it.
Amor fati is the ultimate cognitive reframe. It means wishing for things to happen exactly as they do.
That sounds impossible.
It's difficult, but it's about looking at a massive, intimidating obstacle, a career failure, a health crisis, a personal betrayal, and deciding, good, this is exactly the resistance my muscles needed to grow.
Wow. It flips the script entirely. You stop being a victim of circumstance, constantly asking the universe, why is this happening to me?
Exactly.
And you become a student of life, asking, what is this teaching me? What dormant capability in me is this forcing me to use?
Marcus Aurelius wrote about this beautifully in his Meditations. He observed that a small, weak fire can be easily extinguished by a pile of brush. But a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it.
Yeah.
If the fire of your character is hot enough, it consumes the obstacle and uses it as fuel to burn brighter.
The obstacle becomes the way.
Yes.
Okay, let's step back and look at this resilience toolkit we've constructed today.
Let's review it.
First, we frame our entire existence through the dichotomy of control. We focus our biological energy exclusively on our own thoughts, beliefs, and actions, and we just let the wind do what it will.
Right.
Second, we prepare our minds for shocks using negative visualization. We run the emotional fire drills so we aren't blindsided by reality, which simultaneously spikes our gratitude for the present moment.
Huge benefit there.
Third, we maintain this system with a daily evening reflection. We step back as a dispassionate observer to adjust our game tape without any of that unhelpful guilt.
Just the objective data.
And finally, we stress test that system through voluntary discomfort, striving ultimately for amor fati, embracing every single obstacle as the exact fuel we need to burn brighter.
It is a profound shift from trying to forcefully control the external world to mastering your internal response to it. But before we finish, I want to leave you with one final expansive exercise to ponder on your own.
Oh, perfect. What is it?
Well, we focused intensely on the individual mind today, but both Stoicism and yoga emphasize that we are not isolated units fighting a lonely battle against the universe.
Right. There is a much larger cosmic context to all of this that frames the whole philosophy.
Exactly. The Stoics practiced a meditation called the view from above, which ties into their concept of sympathia, the idea of universal connection.
The view from above, how does that work?
The next time you feel completely overwhelmed by a personal crisis, a looming deadline, or, just a frustrating argument, try to visualize this. In your mind's eye, slow up and look down at yourself from the ceiling of your room.
Okay.
Then zoom out further, looking down at your entire city, see the cars moving like tiny ants, then zoom out to your entire continent.
Just keep pulling back.
Keep pulling back. Then see the Earth hanging in the silent vacuum of space. See your individual problems as a tiny, fleeting speck in the grand, spinning cosmos.
Man, it violently shrinks your ego down to size. It forces real perspective on what actually constitutes a crisis.
It does. If Stoicism and yoga both teach that we are deeply, inextricably connected to the universal whole, that we are merely small cells in a single living organism, does our modern obsession with individual status or that minor daily frustration that ruined your morning even matter in the grand scheme?
Probably not.
It's a powerful thought to carry with you as you navigate the rest of your day.
So next time you find yourself standing in that metaphorical torrential downpour, feeling the urge to tense up and fight the weather, remember you already have the blueprints to weave that invisible raincoat. You don't have to control the storm. You just have to